Well, welcome to another video from Homeman Tribe. And today we're going to be talking about the strong man. So Mac, when you think about somebody's being a strong man, what comes to mind to you?
Well, I think it really hinges on what we talked about last time, and that is having a good sense of who you are and what you're about, and being willing to stand up for something. Essentially, to stand up for your beliefs and your purpose in what you're trying to accomplish in life. So I think the strong man is not at all passive, but rather makes his claim on what he's about and what he needs to get done in life. So the archetype of the warrior is presented to us. The word warrior kind of connotates a lots of perhaps negative images, but it is this strong person who's willing to be of conviction and unafraid to state his case, whatever that case may be. And it can be any kind of direction you want to take, but you're not a follower. You're rather you're leading, at least to your cause.
So strength in this case is more about our conviction than our physical strength as a strong man.
Yeah, and I think a problem for a lot of us is an unclear purpose. And so then we have no convictions. We just follow a lot of other people that are telling us go this way or that way, and we just go the easiest way instead of saying, this is what I want and this is what I need. Not to say that you always get what you want, but at least you need to know what you want. And what you want can't be just everybody else to be happy and pleased with you. Then that's sort of a passive man. And that generally loses respect among other men, but also among women. If you have a man that's just following and whatever you say, then he's lost his soul. And we don't want to lose our soul. We want to be strong. I think on the opposite of that, we can play that game so far, and then we get ugly trying to prove that we're strong in all kinds of unhealthy ways. So it all has to do with standing up with convictions.
Yeah, and in the yogic principles, of course, we always talk about dharma, our purpose, and it's the old adage: it's better to do your dharma poorly than to do another man's dharma perfectly. It's better to follow your own path than is to. I think it follows into what you were talking about, this leading and following. If you get to that point where you're, if you are always at this state of following and you're not following your own convictions of what you want to do or what's part of your higher purpose, then you're more like the sail in that ship that's just meandering in the water, waiting for the next wind to come by, and to fill your sail to come through, and to kind of segue into that, those sail, the wind in the sails in this case could be our addictions or other things that get in the way that allow us to not follow our path and our purpose to be those true warriors as we hope to be.
So, an exercise I do very often is I just ask somebody to write the 20 things that they want. Just get a legal pad and write 1 to 20 on it and write down what you want. And then, and it's amazing how crippling that is.
Mm.
Particularly if you've not been assertive. So I think kind of the key word is being assertive in stating what you want, and again, being willing to try to make what you want happen in life. And
Do you find, I always find too, to build on that, you know, a lot of men, when they get into this, what I want, there's this feeling, well, I'm being selfish. You know, well, if I get what I want, then, you know, or if I really ask for what I want, then am I just being self-centered? You know, I'm not really listening to my own convictions. I'm just, well, you know, I want that, but, you know, that's not possible. Or I want that, but, you know, that seems self-centered. And I think a lot of men suffer from that as well. That, you know, I can't be assertive because if I come off too assertive, then it looks like I'm in my own world and not really caring about other, you know, what other people think or whatever, you know, and then it's loops back. You either don't do it because you're like, I don't want to think that I want that. Yeah, that's, you know,
but that prevents other people from having the dance of loving you. If you're not opening up and revealing who you are and what you want and need out of life, then how can you possibly, how can a person be in a relationship with you if all you're about is trying to give another person's needs and wants satisfaction, and you never kind of let other people know what you're wanting and needing? Then they get frustrated because they don't know how to love you. They don't, you're not giving them the chance to dance with you. You're kind of taking this passive role of thinking that you're being really nice, but actually people get mad at you if you don't if you don't tell them what they want, and they're over there helpless. Then, you know,
especially at holiday time, when they don't know the gift to get you, and so you end up with this thing. You're like, well, why'd you give me this? Well, you didn't give me any other ideas of what you wanted, so therefore gave you this.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like, but you know, and I think that I think that's really a good point for being a strong man as well. Is if you're not assertive, it doesn't mean to be overbearing, but to be assertive of what you want, it kind of stakes your ground. It also gives you some sort of boundaries. Otherwise, it's just porous. There's no, you know, you don't, you know, who are you and what you are, and it affects relationships, it affects work, it affects, you know, any kind of, you know, your own financial future. It has ramifications all across that, you know, circle of life as such.
Yeah, it's also okay to have not really addressed this and answered this question about what you want, but I think but the exercise of it really helps you get to know yourself. So you know, you may have spent a lifetime very perceptive to what other people want, but not really paying attention to your own heart and your own conviction. So some sort of exercise has got to make you come clean and go, you know, I really don't like hot dogs. I like hamburgers. And, you know, this is the kind of car I want. And, you know, you can't just have somebody else pick your life for you. You've got to come to a place and time where you go, you know, this is the kind of music that brings me most pleasure. You know, this is the kind of man I am. You know, whether I'm a book reader or a nature reader, you know, you have some sort of clarity about your identity. And then I think you, coupled with that, is some sort of clarity about your values and what you're willing to stand up for. And if you don't have a real sense there, then people are going to walk all over you. And I think that's tragic. Those guys are just secretly angry, and they don't know what they're angry about, but it's because everybody else is being assertive on top of them, and they never quite stand up for themselves. And that'll show up one way or another in your life, either depression, addiction, or, people behind your back are going, well, what's this guy so angry about? One side, he's the nice guy, and the other side is he's the angry guy. He's not getting what he wants out of life.
Yeah, and I think that's, I think that anger is definitely present for many men and as well as women that don't ask for what they want in their life. It gets into resentment as well, it can get into deeper things, and as you pointed out, it can also lead to addictions and frustration to escape. Because rather than to face what I want and I can't have it, or I don't believe I should be worthy of it, then other courses of action seem to take hold. Not most cases, not the most healthy.
Yeah. So, so I think the strong man, as we've kind of overstated at this point, is willing to stand up for his convictions. But a strong man is also, willing to love and willing to be vulnerable and willing to kind of get into the game of life and not be a spectator of life, but put a little vigor into it and not be afraid of the passionate part of existence. And sometimes I think we are going for the easy way of living, the least amount of conflict and conviction, when we really need to participate. So the strong man participates in relationships, dares to love his children and his family, expresses himself, is unafraid of conflicts, and kind of moves with the flow of life instead of being a spectator. So go ahead.
Back as well. When you some might see a warrior as got a sword and shield and got the knocking everything down, and they can be a real tyrant as well. So I mean, that's also a kind of the flip side to the warrior. And again, that's also related to the fact if you don't have a purpose, you're just kind of like a bull in a china shop. You're just attacking everything that's at you, as opposed to having a clear message as to what you want.
Yeah, we've talked the last couple of years about fake news. I think there is a fake strong man who tries to cover his weaknesses and does that by bullying, trying to overpower, shove people around, and it's because he's terrified of really being in real relationships with people and the truth. So he hides the truth, and that's a villain and a bully. And I'm not sure that villains and bullies are what we would consider to be strong men, warrior men. They're childish in their behavior, trying to hide something. So a strong man.
Yeah, that's a good. It's a good point too. A warrior usually faces his fierce enemies face to face. And social media can kind of give you a little mask from all that anonymity of not knowing who I am, and just spurting out something, as opposed to, like, if you said that to the same person who was sitting in front of you, you probably wouldn't. necessarily. You might change it how it is. But as a warrior principle, there shouldn't be any change. Whether you're talking in social media or you're talking face to face or you're talking on the phone, it's the same conviction, because that higher purpose is guides more of the efforts that you're pursuing. It's sort of independent of your day-to-day life. It's sort of the barometer to help you understand what's happening in your everyday life and how you want to pursue it. And so I think, as much as being the warrior, having your purpose as well as knowing what you want is certainly key.
And being unafraid to just be open and upfront about that. I'm constantly on Facebook, old high school friends and people along the way having to say, I disagree with your politics 100%, but I love you as a person, So,
Yeah.
So, we can either either focus on our political differences, or we can focus on the other, 80% of us as human beings that we love,
Yeah.
So we've got to kind of fight through our uniqueness and accept each other for who we end up being, but being willing to fight for our friendships and our relationships, and that's more important than even our belief systems. I think I can be friends with people that don't agree with me. That seems like
You would hope so, yeah.
But it's amazing that we've kind of gotten into a world where you're supposed to agree with everything that I think in order to be my friend, or even
that's really, really a good point, because we just talked about the fact that, when I was talking about Dharma, living one Dharma, your Dharma, poorly than another person's Dharma, fully. And not to get into politics, but the polarization that social media has caused has allowed a lot of people to not know what their true warrior is. I've got to make a decision. I've got to be this or that. Why?
Yeah. Well, I think at least a strong man knows who he is. And then he's not particularly worried about if my next door neighbor isn't who I am. So.
And there's that fine line, right? I am who I am, but you don't want to be cold as well. It's like you're also open.
Yeah. Well, I think I think we're kind of dancing around. I think we got to love each other, and be unafraid to love each other.
The strong warriors can love each other.
Yes, we can love everybody.
So,
because we're not dependent on other people loving us. We're more interested in giving our love out and collecting.
Yeah, well, that brings up that other point. In relationship, a lot of people are looking to have love from the other person fulfilling their voids. Yeah. As a warrior, you already have it. You have your heart. You're extending it out. You're not looking to fill some void. You have all that fullness to be able to give out. That strength is there. You're not looking for that crutch from another relationship, whether it's a loving relationship or work relationship or wherever it is. I think that's it's important to be able to, that love is within, and you're providing that and opening that out to others.
Yeah. So I talk to young fathers, I think there's a point of epiphany for young fathers when they go, and they say this to me, that for the first time they have realized that they love their child enough to die for them. That if there was a choice in crossing the street, they would put themselves in front of the car. And that's a point of revelation, that we have the capacity to love people greater than we love ourselves. And very often, I think fatherhood gives you that gift. You go, whoa, I've got something in me that I didn't even know I had, and that is selflessness. So a strong man can be selfless, which is sort of counterintuitive, but yeah, a strong man can put everyone else in front of him, I think.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that.
And you transcend from being the collector, the conqueror, the slayer of people to actually the giver, the sharer, the lover of people. And when you get to that kind of realm of strength, then you're pretty much invincible, I think. Then you're really a strong man when you're
Yeah. So kind of circle back so a lot of people when you think of a strong man, you're thinking of, the archetypes of an army person or a police officer, or a weightlifter, the guy who's kicking sand at you at the beach, that guy, he's strong, right?
Yeah.
But physical strength is strong, but it's the heart that's where the real strength is.
Yeah, and that I think it just takes a lot of internal work. I think you got to, again, as we said, I think you got to go inside and go, who am I? What am I about? I can't define my strength and power by externals, not my bank account or the size of my house or the things I've collected. I have to define myself by my soul, my heart, and realize that there are parts of me that can never be taken away. You can take away my money and my accoutrements in life, but you can't take my soul away. And that's the thing that I have to offer to the world. And I'm willing to fight for the chance to be able to offer it. And yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to love and relationships and the people you're close to, and not anything that's external. It's all inside that makes the man strong. Yeah.
So kind of recapping on this as well. So for somebody who's listening to this, like, I want to be a stronger man than I am today. What things can we do as men to make ourselves stronger? What tools do we have available to us? So.
Well, I think we got kind of pretty deep and far. I think if you're trying to figure out who you are and what you want, a good recommendation is to order what you want when you go to a restaurant. To just finally start making some decisions about chicken or beef. and fight all those other inner voices, like, oh, you can't buy the most expensive thing because you're not worth it. Or you can hear all those voices. When you look at a menu in a restaurant, you can hear all the little battles go through your head about what's appropriate for you to order. And it's very hard, at least for me, to order what you really want.
Yeah, you go to a nice restaurant, well, I can't order that, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But you went to a nice restaurant. There was a reason we went to a nice restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, I can order a hamburger. I can make a hamburger at home. So, I want that steak, I want that prime rib, So,
or even at home, what do you want for dinner? Oh, whatever is easiest for you to make,
Yeah.
It's okay for you to be saying what you want and for somebody that loved you to kind of help you get it. So
maybe that would be a list, as you point out, make a list of things that you find that you're ambivalent about or passive about.
Yeah, and I think just eating is a fun place to start, because you'll realize that all of your eating decisions kind of reflect all of your life decisions. But kind of your real question is, how do you get on with developing this warrior man of conviction? And I think it does have to do with earlier conversations about who you really are. Now it's time to not be living a life of the expectations of others, but really to go, these kinds of things are important to me. As I live in my neighborhood, I want to be known as as this kind of a guy. And I'm not giving any exact examples, because I think each one of us has to find our own path, but we got to be true to ourselves. But you got to answer what is the true self. So you do that footwork first, and then begin to stand up for it.
So those two things. So we got a list of things that you're passive or ambivalent about, and maybe make that a little bit stronger. And
and then and what you love and what you're willing to stand up for. And we, like I've said about fathers, you can be real laid back until your kid gets bullied in school, and then then
you're on the
hook. Then you're going to get in the car and go, I care about this soul, and you've damaged something I care about, and I'm here to defend it. Well, that's the warrior. And
well, so that gets that second part that you were talking about, which is that defining how you want to be perceived.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are you, Mac? Who am I, John? How do we want ourselves to be seen? And that takes a lot of soul searching too, because you got to be true to yourself. On because most people see me as a good guy or something like that, but until you say, all right, this is really what I want. I want to be known as this person that is true, is trusting, for example, and can be there for their transparency of their work, of what they do, just an example. Those kind of things are really important as well, because if you don't have that self-image of what you want, if you don't have that self-image of what you want people to see you as, then it gets all the way back to what we just talked about. You're going to be painted in some other corner as being that person. Yeah. Somebody's going to tell you what type of person you are. You're a loser. You got to work for me. You're a loser. You can't be a CEO. Get in here. So, and I think those are really those two things are important. I think that whole thing of what you want, making that list of what you want, and I've done that too, and I've done some coaching with people in terms of make that list and do it fast. What you got a time limit. You got 5 minutes or even 3 minutes to write it down, because after that 3 or 5 minutes, it's sort of like, I don't know, because the things that you think about immediately are the top things that you really want.
Yeah,
and then it starts to kind of meander, because there you get this time limit. There's also the and you've done this probably in your work as well, is that you got 6 months to live. What do you want to do before you die? Those become the things you want. And those are,
go for it.
Yeah. Because those become integrated in. So I think, there's two parts to it. One is what you want to be seen as. And then lastly is your values. What do you stand for? What is it that makes you get up in the morning? What is those things that those are your no-goes If you don't have any no-goes, then you definitely have to look there, meaning, oh, I don't care. You can do that. You can, it doesn't matter to me. And if you don't have, if you don't stand up for what you believe in, then your warrior is definitely is weakened.
Yes. So, just two things. As much as it is a lot of internal work that you have to do to figure yourself out, you can't ultimately do it unless you are talking with another guy. You need men. They don't have to be therapists. they can be fishing buddies, but you need other guys that you can actually talk to. So,
right.
So
perspective,
you need
bouncing off ideas.
Yeah, and somebody
see how you handled it. Yeah,
calling you on your your twisted mind. you need some reality check going on. The other thing, I'm reading a biography on Patton, the great general, and he said that he got himself in all kinds of trouble all the time because he was a great warrior. But he said there's no retreat and there's no holding your ground. If you're in a war, you got to move forward. The whole point of being in a war is moving forward. You can't move backward in a war. So I think that's a good metaphor for just life itself. You can't sit still. You got to keep pushing to.
Yeah, well, as we've mentioned before, the one comedian once said, this being human, it's so difficult because you got to do it 24/7. It never stops. Yeah. So to be able to enjoy that life, and I think as well, for me personally, the things that have happened over with COVID, and seeing people getting really ill, knowing people that have died, and realizing how important it is to live your life, and being a strong person means to live it, to enjoy it. It doesn't mean you have to be, I'm going to do all this, I'm going to be, this is my warrior because I'm going to, that's not, it's that passion. You mentioned that earlier. It's the passion of life that is necessary out of that warrior as well. And to be able to enjoy life. It's life is short, even though it happens 24/7. Eventually it doesn't. And so you want to enjoy it before it ends, right? So, yeah. But okay. Any closing thoughts, Mac, before we end this time together?
I think you got to just charge forth, right? I love the image that you can't sit still. There's no resting on your laurels here.
No. Yeah.
But the temptation is to somehow say that you have arrived. We've never arrived. We're just
no, we're either sad or upset about our past and fearful of the future. So unless we have our convictions of what we want now, not going to matter what the future brings. So, right. Well, thank you everyone that's listening to this video. Hopefully we provide you with some tidbits of what it means to be a strong man, and we'll go forward. Well, thank you, Mac, and thank you for listening.